Hello everyone, you are listening to Scenecraft. From opening shots to long takes and epilogues, we examine our favorite scenes from cinema here on the podcast. I'm Cody, here with my fellow members of the Justice Gang.
Mark.
And Connor.
You can find Scenecraft on most social media platforms at Scenecraft Podcast for the latest news on the show. Today, we will be discussing the highly anticipated Superman, which is the first film in the new DC universe, the DCU, produced by DC Studios and directed by James Gunn. And as usual, we'll begin with our brief What We've Been Watching segment, Quick Takes.
Speak quickly.
Quickly, thank you.
Quickly, come on. Hurry up, quicker.
Way quicker.
Okay, I'll say it fast.
What have you guys been watching this week?
Okay, is it just me, or has this summer been pretty fruitful so far?
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot that I've been trying to see.
Well, okay, maybe it's just Connor and I, but
the thing about it is that we've recently looked at our top 10 of 2025 far lists, and there's like nothing there.
Ooh,
there's a few.
There's a few.
There's like
my list
four
is
movies.
4? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe you should make like me and plant your ass like a seed in the theaters and watch as many movies as you can, which is essentially what I did for my quick takes.
Nice.
The first movie I'm going to cover is Elio, which was directed by Adrian Molina, Domi Shi, and Madeline Sharafian. And it was released this year, 2025. The logline reads, Elio, a space fanatic with an active imagination, finds himself on a cosmic misadventure where he must form new bonds with alien life forms, navigate a crisis of intergalactic proportions, and somehow discover who he is truly meant to be. Is it safe to say that I am probably the most charitable when it comes to Pixar movies and theatrical releases?
Oh, definitely. You've been watching them like clockwork, I think, every year. Like, admirably, keeping us all posted with what's actually good or what's maybe not so good.
Yeah. I think, let's be honest here. Let's just tell it like it is. I don't think anyone else on this podcast has seen Elemental besides me, right?
No.
But for me, I think it's less about, the quality of the movie and just having like not seen them recently. I just haven't made the effort and I don't know why, but I'm glad one of us is doing it. So.
I saw Inside Out too. That was the last one I saw in theaters.
Great. I loved
Inside
Out.
It was awesome.
Too.
Yeah, that was on your top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me start off with the positive. I thought Elio it's basically one of Pixar's most visually stunning films to date, period.
Cool.
And I know that gets tossed around a lot, and Pixar, like many studios, they continue to one-up themselves with each new movie, and this one's no different. The character models, the invented languages, the intriguing technology, and they just have these vibrant worldscapes. I just cannot fathom the degree of imagination that went into creating this film. I also appreciate the swing of the central themes of this film, which revolve around grief and this desire for belonging, which are pretty heavy, but admirable topics to tackle in a kid's film. However, my biggest issues with this film are essentially on a script level.
Okay.
The narrative felt pretty disjointed to me. My understanding is that there were lots of rewrites with this film and different creatives that entered and exited the project. You can kind of tell because there's a few side characters, including Elio's aunt, who is supposed to play a major role in this film. She feels kind of sidelined and neglected for a majority of the runtime, so it wasn't really satisfying by the end of the film with, the transformation that she goes through.
Mm.
But overall, the film just was kind of a mixed bag to me, because I think one of my greatest issues was that Elio goes from feeling isolated and alone on Earth to essentially being immediately accepted on a new planet. And I don't feel like the film fully explores the consequences of loneliness and isolation. So that's a little bit disappointing to me, but overall, I'm glad this one's connecting with a lot of people online. It's honestly a shame that Disney weirdly buried this film. There was hardly any marketing for it before it came out, and I don't think it's doing tremendously well at the box office right now, so that's kind of a bummer. But if you fall into the categories of being a space enthusiast and or a Pixar fanatic, then you should definitely check out Elio, which is now playing in theaters. Otherwise, at the very least, I would recommend checking it out once it makes its way onto Disney Plus.
Nice. I didn't even know that's how you pronounced it.
Elio, yeah.
I kept saying it, Elio.
I was saying Elio too, and then the first line in the movie, I'm pretty sure was like his name, and I was like, oh, got it wrong this whole time.
Well, that's so disappointing that it didn't do better at the box office. Yeah, I think I was reading it's like one of the worst performing Pixar films. But you know what?
Oh, really?
Yeah, unfortunately. But to our friends at Pixar, keep trucking. They're amazing. I think I can say that Pixar has created some of our favorite films ever and some of like our favorite memories together having watched them. So
Definitely.
keep going. And
yeah, if I can say like one kind of morose silver lining to all this is that they kind of pulled out the big guns after the box office numbers came back, and they recently announced that they're making Ratatouille 2.
I saw that. Yeah.
Which could be good, could be bad, but
I'm nervous for that one. I mean, obviously want it to be amazing. That's one of my favorite Pixars of all time, so be careful.
Yes, very careful. I also went to go see Jurassic World Rebirth, which was directed by Gareth Edwards this year, 2025. And the logline reads, 5 years after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, the planet's ecology has proven largely inhospitable to dinosaurs. The three most colossal creatures within the tropical biosphere hold the key to a drug that will bring miraculous, life-saving benefits to humankind. This one's been a little bit of a contentious one in the chat. Both Cody and I saw this film in theaters, and we had different reactions, to say the least.
That was so entertaining. I loved it. You guys were sending so many voice notes.
It was like basically a mini episode of Scenecraft, but
that was great.
I personally thought Jurassic World Rebirth rocked. Laugh all you want. I will admit that some of this has to do with the expectations, and some of it has to do with the films that came before. I personally never really connected with the Chris Pratt character from the previous trilogy. The whole dog trainer domesticating raptors angle didn't really work for me. And so this film felt like a drastic improvement, especially compared to something like Jurassic World Dominion, which was a low point in the franchise for me. Jurassic World Rebirth, it feels like a celebrated return to form to me. Some may view that as a negative, but I feel like it's a step in the right direction for the series. The exposition of the film is a bit rough at times. However, the film wastes little time getting to the island, which is what I want to see when I go to a Jurassic Park film. It's on the island that we get stunning and inventive set pieces that, say what you will, they still feel fresh in a franchise that is on its 7th movie.
Oh, wow.
And not to mention Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali are both great in this film, and they seem like they're having a blast. So that's always fun to see too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, there's too many characters in the movie, and I don't know what it is, but there's this ever-present weird fixation on showcasing mutant dinosaurs that's completely unneeded. If they just had like a giant eraser and just got rid of that throughout the entire series, I think it'd be better for it. This movie delivers on what people want from a Jurassic World movie. Humans in perilous situations with fierce dinosaurs. And I would challenge anyone seeing this film to say that they weren't at least entertained with it. So I would recommend checking out Jurassic World Rebirth, which is currently playing in theaters. Go ahead, Cody. Tell me I'm wrong about this one.
Okay, well, so just to set the scene really quick. I think I was at the gym or something, and you guys had both recently seen the movie, sending like 45 minutes worth of voice notes back and forth to each other, and I'm just listening along like it's my own personal podcast episode. I haven't even seen the movie yet.
And it's just me, and I'm going to need your help, Connor, because it's just me, having slings and arrows hurled at me by Mark and his wife, not just Mark.
Yep.
Me having to defend myself here, so I would appreciate the backup if you
I'm gonna have to be the tiebreak.
Yeah. I know which way you'll sway here.
For the record, I will say I don't think Connor will like this movie as much as I do, because his soul's a little broken.
Oh,
he can't enjoy the finer things and fun things in life anymore. So
hey, Scarlett's in there. I mean, I'm fair game. I didn't watch any of the Chris Pratt ones, so I'm already kind of like off a little bit in terms of the past 10, 12 years of the franchise. It sounds like I don't necessarily need to see him to watch this one.
The only reason I would tell you to watch them, it's actually almost like a paradox. By watching them, you'll actually appreciate Jurassic World Rebirth even more. But that'd be like 6 hours of your life that you would never get back. So
I think Jurassic Park 3 was the last one that I saw in theaters.
Okay. I thought you saw Fallen Kingdom. No?
I don't think I did. I never saw Fallen Kingdom. Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? Mark, I think you just kind of proved my point for me. The only reason why you or anyone likes this is because it is the truly postmodern version of Jurassic, meaning that the past 4 of them, or however many, were such dog water that by comparison, it's like observing its meta nature, and by comparison, it's good. But I don't think that necessarily makes for like an objectively good standalone experience just because it was better than its predecessor.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, can you really look me in the eyes and tell me that the set pieces did not entertain you?
Yeah, I like didn't hate watching them.
Wow.
I just found the whole thing. I found each of the set pieces to be there is such a digital facade, like a certain just pixels flying through the air, that I didn't feel a connection or a tangibility to it. Okay. So it just feels like we're just drifting around in random geography that like I don't understand, because it's not based on any sort of actual reality. It just feels like everything is digitally created, which is kind of anti to the idea of Jurassic Park or the original series Jurassic, as a whole. And even if there were a couple like practical, puppets or creature effects in this film, I just feel like I just didn't get that sense.
Okay.
I don't know. But the visual effects, the actual fidelity of the visual effects was great. There wasn't a moment where I was like, that looks weird or off or bad. It was more just kind of a general polish that I don't really like when I want to see these movies.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. But you know what? I don't want to yuck your yum. I think that anyone going to see it, just keep an open mind and try and enjoy yourself. It's like a fun summer blockbuster. You know what? At the end of the day, I'm glad you liked it. Sorry I didn't have as good of a time in the theater. I know it disappoints you, but
it's okay. You're wrong, but it's okay.
Okay. Cool.
And now I'm really looking forward to seeing it. So I've also been trying to get out to the theater to see as much as I can. Now that summer's officially in full gear, I haven't quite seen as many as you, Mark. I know you've really been working overtime. And you, Cody. I feel like you guys have both been putting in the work lately.
Mm-hmm. Part-time job.
It's work, but we do it. A fun thing my wife and I have been doing here in Chicago is checking out the summer screenings series hosted by the Chicago International Film Festival. Quick shout out to the Chicago International Film Festival. Love having such a great supportive film organization in our city that focuses on making these honestly hard to find international films from all these different cultures accessible and easy to see. So every week this summer, they screen free films from different countries in partnership with that country's institute or consulate here in town. And this past week, they screened a French film from 2020 at the Chicago History Museum called Love Affairs. So great title. It's styled with an S in parentheses after Love Affair. The French title is Les choses qu'on dit, les choses qu'on fait, or The Things We Say, the Things We Do. It was directed by Emmanuel Murray in 2020. And the logline for this one is: waiting for her boyfriend to join her on a country vacation, 3 months pregnant Daphne bonds with her boyfriend's cousin Maxime, and their shared intimacy brings them closer together into a full-fledged love affair.
Spicy.
Yeah. So Love Affairs is not your typical rom-com. It's not necessarily an anti-rom-com, but it does play with the genre tropes that we've become so well versed in from Hollywood by putting a distinctly French spin on things. As the title suggests, we see multiple love affairs unfolding around and in our characters' relationships. To set the table a bit more, just in case it wasn't clear from the logline, our two main characters meet for the first time at a vacation home in the French countryside. Most of the movie is spent in one long conversation between our two characters as they get to know each other over the course of a weekend. And they really go straight at the deep stuff right off the bat by talking about a recent heartbreak one of the characters went through, complete with a full flashback where we see their backstory, new characters get introduced, etc. That turns into our other character telling us her long story of how she came to start dating her boyfriend. And the fun and surprise is where those stories start to unexpectedly overlap. This plot was really satisfying and tightly written. It felt like watching a really great novel. You know, you get those movies sometimes, and I mean that in the best way. It's a pure character-driven story with phenomenal acting, plenty of surprising and laugh-out-loud moments. Our theater was packed. There was a lot of good audience reaction, gasps, laughs, dismay, all the shared experience type of feedback that helps elevate a movie like this. I think what I loved most about it is how philosophically it asks what love really is. In our culture, love can be pretty black and white. If you cheat on someone, you're bad, they're good, etc. What makes it French is how gray it all is. Each character has their own definition of what love is for them. No one is necessarily more at fault than the other if and when they do have an affair in this movie. I think the original title sums it up nicely. The things we say might be different from the things we do, because at the end of the day, the heart wants what it wants, and love and desire often defy logic and social norms. So I would recommend checking this out, but in what might be a Scenecraft first, Love Affairs is surprisingly not currently available to stream anywhere. Like, I looked all over. It's just not out there. I really hope that changes soon. It feels weird having this as my quick take. Like, here's a great movie you can't see, but I really did enjoy this, and I want to tell people about it. So if you see it out there somewhere in the future, Love Affairs is a great watch.
I'm not going to lie. Your description, nope, not for me.
Really?
Yeah.
It's out for you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm intrigued. I'll watch it, Connor.
It was good, man. Yeah.
Connor and I we'll talk about... Mark, you can go watch another fucking dinosaur orgy.
Gladly.
Jesus. So I also watched, on a different note, F1, directed by Joseph Kosinski, another huge blockbuster that just came out in June 2025. The logline is, a Formula One driver comes out of retirement to mentor and team up with a younger driver. It's like a hilariously short logline, but it's great.
I love it.
This movie kicked ass. It was great.
Yeah.
Kicked ass. Kosinski teams up with Apple to do for Formula One racing what Top Gun Maverick did for the United States Navy, and it works. Let's just say the formula works for this one. Swap Brad Pitt in for Tom Cruise, Carrie Condon in for Jennifer Connelly, put my ass in a seat and call it a day. This was great. I had such a blast. Is it a little too long? Definitely, but it's a well-oiled machine. Apple basically made a huge summer blockbuster with all the precision and craft they put into their tech. You can feel that in each scene, each race, each hairpin turn. It's all carefully orchestrated to maximize that movie magic and entertainment value we all want to see on the big screen. This might sound like a negative. I know you saw it too, Cody. Maybe you can back me up. But there were so many tropes that I just ate up. It's like it's speaking the language of a summer blockbuster, and I really can't explain it, but I was like giddy every time I'd see one. For example, Carrie Condon, the only female car designer in the entire F1 circuit. She's up late at the lab in one scene, ponytail pulled back, glasses on with the reflection of an Apple Studio display on the lenses. We know she's working hard and putting in that effort to be the best. It's so earnest in how it uses these comfortable shorthands to just get us to the action while still having a character-driven plot. Like Top Gun Maverick, I think it had some great lessons on leadership and how to build an effective team that wins together. I don't think it's better than Top Gun Maverick, but it's still a blast. And I found the characters' thrilling pursuit to be the best, still really inspiring and fun to watch. Like I said, I had a blast with this. Absolutely loved it. I definitely recommend it for an easy summer watch. F1 is still in theaters and probably will be for the next couple weeks, but it will be available on Apple TV Plus once it hits streaming.
I really want to see this.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to see it.
Yeah, you're totally right, Connor. It's like every trope you can possibly think of, but a trope is a trope for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah,
it can be really satisfying if executed well, and all these people the best at their game and what they're doing, and
I
it's
think that's
fun.
a good way to put it. The whole thing is very satisfying. So, Mark, you got to see it in theaters if you can. Definitely.
Okay.
I'd say it's
Yeah,
a
I
much
will.
better experience in the theater. What about you, Cody? What have you been watching lately?
Yeah, so here at the very end of its theatrical run, I went to see 28 Years Later, directed by Danny Boyle, written by Alex Garland. That this came out just a few weeks ago, this year, 2025. The logline reads, 28 years after the rage virus devastated the UK, a group of survivors on a remote island must confront the mutated horrors and hidden truths that have emerged from the mainland.
Oof.
So Danny Boyle and Alex Garland finally reunited, but it is not as if I even know what I've been missing there. One of my greatest cinema shames ever is that I've never seen 28 Days Later.
Oh, wow.
And I also didn't have time to watch it, nor 28 Weeks Later before venturing out to see 28 Years Later. But Mark, you assured me that it was worth seeing, and it doesn't necessarily require context from the first two films. Really only the concept of like quarantine and this thing, rage virus equals bad. It makes zombies run really, really fast. And, I kind of knew that from context clues. And let me say, Mark, you were 100% correct.
Yes.
I thought 28 Years Later was absolutely incredible. Probably at the top of my list for films so far this year, 2025.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I just loved it. The perils of being near these ultra fast zombies, and whether or not they're actually zombies, I get Danny Boyle says they're not, but they're terrifying nevertheless. And the great set pieces that surround them are impressive as expected, but I think the film transcends the genre to become something even more resonant, which is a haunting and emotional exploration of grief and loss. The characters are grieving for many reasons, because of death in their life, because of things they'll never get to experience, because of an isolated nation they live in. All a perfect mirror for our very real world that seems to be getting worse every day. In my opinion, all in the wake of our own horrifying pandemic and many global events sowing constant chaos. But the film does offer hope through the idea that while grief, whether it's literal or symbolic, is one of the hardest things we can experience, it is what gives us our feelings of love and joy deep, deep meaning, because we choose to love anyway, knowing that we will grieve. I'm not sure everyone will feel this way about a disturbing zombie flick, but that was my takeaway, my journey watching 20 Days Later. Also, outstanding cast. Give Jodie Comer an Oscar. She's incredible.
Cool.
And the lead, Alfie Williams, who was 13 while filming, he's just so impressive. And I am, the scrutiny for child actors for me, it can either like...
Oh, we know. Yeah.
Yeah, it can make or
It's a
break.
deep history.
Yeah, he was incredible. And then, of course, we have an unforgettable confluence of picture and sound, like some really weird soundtrack choices, but really unique. I just love this so much, despite the last 10 minutes being really bizarre. But at the same time, it actually kind of worked for me.
Yeah.
And I'm just really looking forward to the next entry in this trilogy. It actually comes out relatively soon. I think it's in January.
Oh, I didn't know
sequel
that.
To this. Yeah, it's
Wow.
like a
Yeah.
new trilogy. Yeah.
Cool.
They filmed the second part of this, and then the third one has not been filmed yet, so it's gonna depend on how well the second one does.
Box office.
Uh,
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And you can contribute to that success by going to see 28 Years Later, which I think should still be in a couple theaters here and there. It's a little harder to find by the time this episode comes out. It may not be in cinemas at all, but very likely will be coming to VOD soon. And I'll be checking out the previous 2 films as well. It's about time, so looking forward to that.
Nice. I can't wait to see it. I mean, you both have talked very highly of it over our texts, so I'm super excited to see it.
We've overhyped it.
It's going to be like a 3 out of 5 for me.
Maybe. Moving on to the next thing I watched, which was Superman the movie, directed by Richard Donner, 1978. The logline reads, an alien orphan is sent from his dying planet to Earth, where he grows up to become his adoptive home's first and greatest superhero. Yet another cinema shame that I've now corrected. I watched 1978's Superman for the first time in preparation for today's main review. I wanted to get an idea of the tonal contrast or comparison. This movie carries over 4 decades of legacy for the character. So I obviously had really high expectations going in. There is such an effusive love for this movie. And while I don't think I come near matching that unapologetic love, I did have a great time with it overall. I was actually totally transfixed by the creative decisions made during the initial Krypton sequence. Really bizarre production design and cool optical effects. Great monologuing from Marlon Brando. It all felt a little like Lynchian Dune to me, which would come out just a few years later in the 80s. But then as we get into Metropolis, it becomes immediately clear why Christopher Reeve was so revered in this role as Superman. He really is the perfect fit, and also creates a clear physical and idiosyncratic difference for his alter ego, Clark Kent. There's this amazing moment in the film where Margot Kidder's Lois Lane walks away from him, and Reeve does this little subtle like correction of his stance. He like stands up taller, and his posture changes just to show he's changing from Clark to Superman, just for us, the audience. It's cool. It's very subtle. And stating the obvious here, the legendary John Williams score is beyond reproach. It totally sells the tone of the movie, especially the, famous theme. And we all know that JW is the maestro. He's just incredible. A couple weird things, though. In the way that the movie was scripted and shot, I thought it was almost like The Spy Who Loved Me or another 70s Bond film. It just kind of had that like goofy plot mechanic, and especially with Gene Hackman as this mustache twirling Lex Luthor with 2 cronies at his side the whole time. It just felt very like Bond to me. I was anticipating something more visually progressive in terms of like the basic composition of each shot, despite the groundbreaking and award-winning technologies that went into the visual effects. I also really felt the film's length, which sits at 2 hours and 23 minutes. It's not incredibly long, but yeah, at the time, it's pretty long. But you know what? I think I just don't necessarily have all of the context for superhero history and how innovative this was compared to something like, Adam West as Batman in 1966, which by all accounts is like really goofy. I have seen the famous exploding shark sequence in that. So I think I can say that Superman is a way more earnest and impressive superhero film, which I know is what Richard Donner was trying to do. So I can respect what the film did for the genre and cinema history. It is an interesting comparison to the newest version of Superman. So if you haven't seen Richard Donner's film, check out 1978's Superman, which I actually streamed on HBO Max.
Nice. I'm glad one of us watched this.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you guys have never seen it, I guess.
I've never seen it, no.
It's funny. In our basement growing up, we had a bunch of movie posters. My dad used to work at a movie theater when he was in high school, college, and we had the Superman poster up in my basement. But I personally never watched it, so I needed to see it.
Wow.
Yeah. I'd be really, really... I know we say this all the time, but genuinely would be very curious to see if it works for you at all.
Okay. I mean, I
Yeah.
like that it's from the 70s. I feel like that's automatically a plus for me.
Yeah. One of the things I love and respect about it is the pacing.
Yeah.
And how it has that 70s pacing aesthetic of like it really breathes and takes its time, probably contributing to that overall runtime.
Yeah, the runtime. I love that. I eat it up.
But yeah, me too. Yeah, I love the pacing of it. And compared to James Gunn's version, which to me felt just so chaotic in some good ways, some bad ways, it was kind of a very different experience. So it was a nice comparison there. Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Now let's move into our discussion about Superman, starring David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult, among many others.
You've gotten a lot of heat on social media lately.
I don't read that stuff. Superman doesn't have time for selfies.
Third person. You're referring to yourself in third person now.
No, it's just a thing I came up with that I thought I'd try to work into the next interview.
This is on the record, Superman.
Okay, well, not the part where I said that.
Yes, that part.
No, that part was an aside. That was off the record.
You have to say off the record beforehand, not after.
Why are you being like this?
The logline for the film reads, Superman must reconcile his alien Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as reporter Clark Kent. Let's first start with our spoiler-free section. Mark, what did you think of Superman?
Okay. So, before we get to my thoughts on Superman, I have to start off by saying that this was the most invested I have ever been on the critical and audience reaction to a film in a long time. Are you guys with me on that one?
Yeah, you were really pushing it and like giving us what felt like hour by hour updates at one point.
Yeah, well, what I was looking for was you guys to say you felt the same way, not that I was that way.
Yeah, I definitely didn't feel the same way. I was more invested because you were.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So
that's
it was
endearing.
infectious. Yeah.
So just the stakes writing on this film just felt monumental. One misstep and the entirety of the new DC universe would be basically dead on arrival. And that inherent drama is just something you don't really see the transparency of that in some of these franchises coming out. You know what I mean? And so something about that I just was really transfixed by. But I literally found myself refreshing the Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic pages once the embargo was lifted. And yeah, my anxiety was through the roof. I could have used a Xanax or two or something. I don't know.
Oh my God. Glad you made it through that experience.
I'll start with this. I am admittedly not the world's biggest Superman fan. I find the character to be too perfect and undefeatable. He always just seemed to lack the humanity found in some of my favorite superheroes. And before anybody says anything about the humanness or humanity of the character, I am well aware that he is quite literally an alien. But the portrayal of the character in Bryan Singer's Superman Returns and Zack Snyder's Man of Steel always felt cold, distant, and unrelatable to me, especially in the Snyderverse, where he came across as this brooding, pouty baby. I don't know. It was a big turnoff to me, at least. I know that is like a poke in the eye to a lot of people out there that like loved it, but
That's funny.
was not for me. James Gunn's Superman is essentially a complete 180 from that depiction. This iteration of Superman is much more grounded on him being a relatable human whose primary goal is to do good in the world and to protect people. And I think this has much to do with Gunn's direction as it does with David Corenswet's portrayal of the character. And to that point, there are small but important decisions made in this film to focus on the intimate moments amongst the chaos of any given action set piece. Like Superman instructing a recently rescued, distraught townsperson to take a deep breath, or putting himself into harm's way to save a squirrel.
Oh, and Mark, there's the great moment I thought of you right away. There's like an old woman carrying a small terrarium with two turtles away.
Oh, yeah. I saw
I
that.
forgot about that.
Mark's going to love this.
It was like an instant star added to the movie when I saw that, for sure. Yeah.
Sorry.
But you guys get what I'm saying. Like these little moments, these little choices, which don't take up too much of the runtime, they all make Superman come across as something more admirable and greater than some robotic crime-stopping machine.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, I think most importantly, we see a level of vulnerability in the character that is more than just an alien whose greatest weakness is kryptonite. And I think that's kind of what he was distilled down to in my brain for the longest time. And this film really showed me a different side of him. Not to mention, light spoiler here, but the movie opens with Superman losing a fight.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then in addition to that, his idealism and naivety are actively questioned by Lois Lane, despite his good intentions, as we'll discuss in the scene today. All these decisions draw me into that character and the film overall much more because he's more like us. He's more human.
Mm-hmm.
Another choice by Gunn that I really respect was the decision to forego the typical origin story route.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's safe to say that a majority of the population have at least a small working knowledge of the character and his backstory. Now, that isn't to say I didn't have a few gripes with the film. I'm going to blow your guys' minds with this one. But I actually think there was too much Crypto the dog in this movie.
Oh,
I don't disagree, but it's big of you to admit that.
Yeah, I know. I basically become synonymous with animal humor enthusiast over the years. And that says a lot for me because I just felt like it was a little too one note and repetitive to me. So I could have done without that. But this was a great summer blockbuster experience to me. I saw it opening night in IMAX and people were cheering during the film. There was quite literally a guy whistling the John Williams Superman theme while walking to the parking lot. So
Nice.
The crowd loved it, and so did I.
Nice.
Connor, I know you're not much of a comic book guy. What did you think of Superman?
So let me clarify that a little bit. I'm not much of a comic book movie guy. I completely missed out on the Marvel run from 2013 to now. I know we've talked about this before, but I was trying to keep up. Somewhere around the third Iron Man, I just fell off and never recovered. I've never seen an Avengers movie. I think I fell asleep when I tried to watch Black Panther. Those movies just don't do a lot for me personally, and 9 times out of 10, I'd rather watch something more grounded in reality. Roast me. Sound off in the comments. Like, let me know I'm crazy. As a kid, though, I actually was really into comic books. I loved Batman, had a ton of Batman comics, Silver Age comics from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, Tales from the Crypt. I was into a lot of it, and I think I wasn't allowed to read new comic books, like from the 90s at the time, because my mom thought they were too violent. So I would buy like lots of these old comic books from eBay with my dad.
Cool.
I just loved the artwork, the graphic nature, the illustration. It was like this perfect fusion of design and art. And I actually went to Wizard World Comic Con here in Chicago for years when I was in middle school and even high school.
That's right.
I think we went together one year, right, Mark?
Yeah, that's right. We got like the Heath Ledger Joker action figure.
Yeah. Uh-huh. All this to say, after how amazing the Dark Knight trilogy was, speaking of that, I think I just got really fatigued by all the comic book movies in the 2010s. Like there was just no catching up once I had fallen a few behind, and I had all this work ahead of me to watch them all to the point where it became unfun and kind of against what's enjoyable about movies for me. It felt like a checklist. So this was really my first time back seeing a comic book movie in theaters since then.
Wow.
And I enjoyed Superman. It's funny watching this movie, seeing and hearing all the positive reaction to it and not having seen all the comic book movies of the past 15 years, because my first reaction is like, those movies must have really sucked. People think this is so great.
Wow.
But don't get me wrong. Like, do not get me wrong. It was good. I did have a fun time with it. I think my eyes just start to glaze over a little bit once we get into like pocket universes and anti-proton rivers, shapeshifters, etc.
Yep.
That kind of interchangeable comic book movie stuff that could be from like literally any movie.
Yes.
I appreciated how of the moment the plot was, though, in the real human part of the story, with the real-time social media backlash to Superman, the news cycle, the commentary on the role money and corporations play in funding war and security, that was all like very relevant and topical to me, which I'm sure we'll talk about more. I thought the cast was great. I agree. I really loved Corin Sweat and Rachel Brosnahan and the realness they brought to their characters. Also, shout out to Beck Bennett and Skylar Gisondo. Super fun seeing those guys in the movie too. We'll have to talk more about that as well. So not my favorite movie, but it was fine. I liked it. I'm also not really maybe the target audience for this. I'm glad to hear a lot of people loved it and connected with it though, and that you loved it, Mark.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Cody, what you thought of it.
Yeah. So as you guys have kind of said already, this new Superman really does try to bring back that idealistic golden age vibe of Superman. And honestly, it is refreshing. No more massive human casualties. Kevin Costner walking into a tornado. Like, we're not getting any of that.
Yeah.
It's hopeful. We're still getting collateral damage, but like very intentionally pointing out no one is dying. There are like constant news reports in this film, like, and no casualties. I think that happens like 3 times. I loved how Metropolis felt like this really over-the-top monster of the week war zone.
Yes.
Chaotic in a fun way. It's like at one point Superman's just like talking to Lois and he's like, they
got it.
The Justice Gang, they've got it. And it's just like another monster that we haven't seen yet. I love that.
Yeah.
But as much as I appreciate the tone and that throwback energy, the movie definitely bites off way more than it can chew. There is just too much going on. There are too many characters, there are too many plot threads, and the imagery, it, like I was talking about with Jurassic, it has that same hollow digital sheen to it that's become all too common in this genre, in like the blockbuster genre as a whole.
Yeah.
But it is a movie with heart for sure. I just don't think it carries the weight of its own ambition. And also weirdly feels kind of like a sequel to a film that doesn't even exist. Like we start right in it, but not in a way for me that worked very well. Still, I will take this over another grim reboot of this character. We'll just save that for Batman. I'm happy this is a hopeful version of Superman.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So it sounds like, Mark, you probably liked it the most out of us 3, and maybe Cody and I are in a similar boat.
Yeah.
And with that, let's delve in further and move into our scene selection for today, which we're going to call On the Record. And as usual, beware of spoilers ahead.
Is there anyone there?
Yes, what do you see?
Spoilers! Right ahead!
Thank you.
You know, Connor, this is normally where I would ask you to give us the scene beats, but this is kind of a different scene we've chosen today in that it's just an interview between Lois and Clark, or, you know, Superman.
Yeah.
And so really the beats to the scene are really just more interview questions.
Right.
But Connor, set us up a little bit, like what is going on leading up to this point in, you know, the world of Metropolis and at the Daily Planet.
So this scene starts just past 17 minutes into the movie, so it's pretty early on, and it runs for about 9 minutes. And like you said, it really sets the stage for the current events of the day and kicks off what will eventually become the plot of the film. When a brewing conflict between the fictional nations of Boravia and Jarhenpur threatens to erupt into war, Superman steps in, only to find himself entangled in the web of global politics. His intervention draws the ire of the U.S. government and leaves him vulnerable to Lex Luthor's latest sinister plot, one with devastating consequences for Metropolis and the world. So that's kind of the background going into this interview scene.
So a little unconventional, maybe picking an interview scene amidst a movie with some really interesting and innovative action. Let's dig into the like thematic weight of the movie rather than just watching like a guy get beaten up a lot.
Yeah. So I think this is the scene that made me realize that Superman was not this infallible character that always makes the perfect decision every time. And by positioning Lois Lane as his love interest and as a moral check rein of sorts, we're shown this new layer of complexity to his character, living in a world that isn't simply black and white.
Yeah, and I think one could say, like anyone who has seen 1978 Superman, this scene might be an homage or an ode to that film, and a scene within that film where an interview between Lois Lane and Superman also takes place, but it does feel very different. The 1978 film's interview scene is predicated on the fact that Lois does not know Superman's true identity yet, and there's just a lot more playful and sexually charged energy in that scene, like a lot of innuendo. He's like, spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't seen 1978, but she asks him like what color underwear she's wearing, like using his X-ray vision.
Okay, guess I have to see it. Sounds a little weird, a little creepy.
Yeah, it gets a little weird for sure. So this scene plays out very differently because Lois knows Superman's identity, and so the interview isn't really focused on who he is per se. As Lois says in the 1978 version, like his stats. He not focused on his height, not focused on his weight. It's focused instead on the complexity of Superman's actions from a geopolitical and ethical lens. So very interesting.
Yeah, it stood out to me for that reason too. And I think a cool, different take on it. As much as Superman wants to be unanimously commended by the whole world for prioritizing human life above all else, taking this heroic point of view, Lois unexpectedly counters him by highlighting the real-world repercussions of his actions. He is this big public figure after all, and by working outside of the regular chain of command, he's inserting the United States into foreign matters, and in doing so, he exposes himself to a level of criticism and hostility that he hadn't really anticipated before this.
Exactly. Yeah. It just feels like a uniquely mature and nuanced take for a superhero movie, and it kind of took me by surprise that the film decided to go there, if that makes sense.
So I thought what we could do is maybe just like go through the interview questions that Lois asks and kind of go beat by beat and talk about the ethics of Superman and his viewpoint versus Lois, and kind of comparing to real world events.
Yeah, that sounds good. You really get a sense of his character through this line of questioning and where he stands on certain issues. So the first line is really funny. You get a sense of his humor. He says, "Let's do it, Cronkite." And then she kicks it off with, "You've recently come under a lot of fire. The defense secretary said he's going to look into your actions in Baravia." So Superman prevented a war between Baravia and Jaranpur, took the Baravia president, Garkos, out to the desert to like push him against a cactus or something, like kind of threaten him a little bit. So he explains that, and he illegally entered the country and helped Jaranpur, which is a traditionally aggressive against U.S. ally Baravia. And Baravia says that they're trying to invade to free the people of Jaranpur from tyranny.
Yeah. So the allegory is fairly obvious, guys, right? I mean, no matter which side, I guess, of the like political landscape your views lie. And we're not like a geopolitical event podcast where we do scene analysis and have fun like watching movies. So we're not here to like pretend to be armchair experts in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but that's the clear allegory, right?
Yeah.
It definitely felt like that.
I thought there may be some like Russia, Ukraine in there too, like kind of a blend. Yeah, so again, that is a very clear comparison to what's happening right now.
And then Lois doubles down a little bit. So she asks some really pointed questions. "Superman, did you consult with the president before entering Baravian airspace, the defense secretary, or any U.S. official before taking matters into your own hands and decided unilaterally how to handle this extremely delicate situation?" So, she's really choosing her words here. But whether or not Jaranpur is an imperfect country doesn't give another nation the right to invade it.
Right. Yeah. It's a great line from Superman that applies in so many cases. Really any our own U.S. like imperialism, and it's clear that James Gunn has a point of view on it, regardless of any of our point of view. He clearly has one.
And going back to what I said before, I commend the movie for going there, because I don't know about you guys, but there are times where I kind of feel like, man, it'd be if I just had the power to go in there and just stop this and save people from dying, it would be so amazing. But this film says, yeah, but it's more complicated than that. You have to go through that chain of command, because then you start looking like you're representing your country without consulting your country. And I think there's a line where Superman says, like, I wasn't representing anybody but myself, but he lives in America. So
right. But he clearly
it's just
is.
a lot
Yeah.
more complicated than the black and white you'd like to see in this situation, which is people dying is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's part of what makes this scene such a standout and really just interesting to think about that. And I think that's where the character of Lois and how she's written in this film does a great job at like prodding Superman. So he's keep checking himself and not being completely unilateral about how he's, going about things just because he's the strongest being on the planet.
Right. Yeah. And then she starts to interrogate him a little bit more by asking, or simply stating, you've gotten a lot of heat on social media lately. And he quips back, Superman doesn't have time for selfies. And I think there's a little subtext here, and maybe I'm reading into things a little bit, but James Gunn did write this film after all. And I think I'd be remiss not to bring up the fact that there was a period of time where he was fired from the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie. And this was due to some people online that had dug up some old comments that he had made and kind of brought them back to public consciousness. And so people were outraged. He was fired from the movie, and then eventually he was brought back onto the film. But he's had a kind of a contentious relationship with social media in that way. He has his own skeletons in the closet, so to speak. And so I think him kind of touching on social media in this way and how big of a role it plays in our society is actually pretty interesting.
Totally.
And it's a nice little bit of like simple exposition here. It's sort of, the movie assumes that most people know who Superman is and where he comes from and already have that background detail, which is why the film jumps in where it does and really just kicks off instead of like the whole origin story, like you mentioned earlier, Mark. And the film pulls this little fun like exposition magic trick where it's like through the context of an interview, you're reminding the audience or reminding people who may not know much about Superman that little bit of background. So Lois asks,
right,
as you may know, or maybe you don't, since you claim not to read any of that stuff, people on social media are suspicious because you're an alien, yes? So it kind of sets us up for him to delve into his background without it seeming like the character should know in universe who he is already. It's kind of an elegant way to do that.
And then he responds back, yes, I've been very honest about that. From the beginning, I come from a planet called Krypton, which is gone now, by the way, destroyed, along with all my history, my parents. They sent me here as a baby to save my life. And then Lois says, here? Where? And Superman replies, I'm not going to say that. You know I'm not going to say that.
What do you think Lois is asking? Like, what is she implying?
I thought she was like, what town? Like, where's here? Like, where are you from? And he didn't want to like dox his family.
That's kind of what I took it as too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, it shows how much he cares about them. And I think another good character detail that comes out of this expositional interview exchange.
And continuing on the exposition train, Lois asks a question, what do you know about these biological parents of yours? Which, previous to this, in the opening scene, we see Superman kind of summon the Fortress of Solitude, where, his robot companions and his dog Crypto help him recover there. And he is shown, holograms of his biological parents. Strangely played by Bradley Cooper.
Okay, when I saw
that was
him
a hilarious
on there,
cameo.
I like went back and forth. I'm like, is that Bradley Cooper? I'm like, that can't be Bradley Cooper. And I was like, no, that's probably him because he was in Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Yeah, Rocket Raccoon. Yeah,
he kind of looked like different, didn't he?
He looked like Star is Born, Bradley Cooper, a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, maybe that's it.
Longer
and
hair.
It's like, can we do this now?
Huh?
Let's talk about one of the most controversial decisions in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good time to bring it up.
So this decision to actually make his parents like
Bad.
somewhat
Yeah.
evil,
It surprised me too.
it's a choice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't remember that from reading the comics of Superman or even like the limited knowledge I had of him. Again, he wasn't like my favorite superhero, but that was a surprise for me when that turn happened in the film.
My understanding is that I think Smallville, the TV series, hinted at something like that.
Okay.
And then there were a few comic series that kind of played with that idea a little bit too. So it's not like they made it up out of
Like
thin
whole
air.
cloth.
Yeah. One important thing I think this does is it gives Clark Kent or Superman more agency as a character, because after having that information, he still continues to do good.
Yeah.
He doesn't, you
Yep.
know what I mean? Knowing that information doesn't change his life's mission, which is to save people, and be an overall positive change on the world. And so, I thought it was a smart decision in some ways, but I'm sure there's some people that were a little ticked off by it.
Well, like one goofy thing too, it seemed weirdly easy to like recover that footage for the engineer, you know, like she plugs in, she's like, I've got it.
Nanotech solves all. Well, yeah, I guess like, again, that exposition takes us back into the interview, and Superman's response is, you know, all he knows about his biological parents is just that they, you know, he says, they sent me here to serve humanity and to help the world be a better place. They sent a message along with me. That message is why I do what I do. I cherish it more than anything. I love his line delivery and earnestness.
Yeah, he's good.
David Cornsweet's, it was so great. Yeah, I love that line.
Do you guys know how James Gunn first saw him? What movie it was?
Was it not Twisters?
So he found out that he was going to be getting the role of Superman while on production for Twisters.
Okay.
But the first movie he saw him in was actually Pearl
Oh, really?
from Ty West. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought both Cornsweet and Brosnahan did a fantastic job. I mean, I think I read a quote from James Gunn where he talked about wanting to find the best actor for the role and then wanting to find the best pair of actors together for the chemistry. And the two of them just happened to be the best for their roles and the best chemistry fit out of all the Scream tests.
Oh, wow.
So it was like the best of both worlds. And you definitely feel that. I mean, real chemistry between the two of them. That was fun to watch. Like they felt like a real couple with the ups and downs that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the love that they had for each other was very palpable. I thought Cornsweet really balanced the humor and also like the physical presence of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, solid cast. Like the top three characters, Cornsweet, Brosnahan, and Holt. I think they all delivered.
Right. And one interesting thing about this scene in particular, my understanding is that chemistry test that you were referring to, Connor, this scene was the
the scene they read.
The scene that they read for, yeah.
That's super cool.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. And so the last line of the interview from Lois is, because you understand now there are an awful lot of people out there maintaining you're here for more nefarious purposes. Hashtag super spy, hashtag super shit. So kind of playing into all the chatter from social media, which we then later learn is like actually this horde of monkeys that is creating all this
I
negative
loved
backlash. That was great.
Very campy, but it was great.
Yeah. That got a laugh out of me. It was clever.
Yeah, and obviously that upsets him to the point. Super shit in particular really bothers him.
Uh-huh.
It totally devolves the interview into kind of like a shouting match, and they fight. He leaves. That's really the scene.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that was fun to see is the styling of Lois's apartment. And it's a pretty modest apartment for somebody who works at maybe the equivalent of like the New York Times in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
An established journalist who's on the beat reporter. She has like one room off of a tiny kitchen, and hilarious to see Clark Kent like using a tiny like pan to cook up an egg for her at this small stovetop. Yeah.
Very cramped.
Good use of physical space. It was a good comedy element.
So, Cody, I know you watched Superman from 1978,
Mm-hmm.
but in preparation for our discussion today, I did watch the interview scene that you were referring to earlier. And one stark difference I noticed was the difference in cinematography from that movie to this one. I feel like the interview in that scene was a lot more reverse shot. And this one, it felt a little more kinetic.
Yeah.
You could sense the restlessness from Clark Kent when he's being cornered with these questions because he's continually moving around. He can't sit still. He grabs a glass of water mid-answer. He often kind of positions himself with some sort of physical boundary, whether it's like a stack of books, it's the wall, it's a couch. He's creating space between the characters because obviously he's starting to feel uncomfortable with her line of questioning.
Yeah, great blocking. He always seems to be doing some sort of like business. So polar opposite to the Donner film interview scene where it's very calm, definitely sensual, sexual energy to it, but calm, and you kind of see Lois falling in love with him there for the first time versus this where it's like they're at least several months in and she's taking on that role as a good reporter and questioning his morality as Superman versus the Clark alter ego. Right.
I thought it was interesting too that the scene starts with some more like head-on shots where the characters are staring not into camera, but you see their full face. And then by the end of it, we get a lot of like side profile shots as he's starting to clam up and not really answer the questions anymore. So it was a nice use of cinematography to get that point across. And it all just kind of added to that distance between the characters.
Nice. I didn't really pick up on that, but that's a good detail. The whole like ethos of the cinematography of this movie where the camera's untethered, moving around, like it's so kinetic to see how they use that to such great effect with the action set pieces. It was like chaotic but organized in a way that I really appreciated. It was like a lot to take in, but they focus your attention on some of those key moments.
Yeah, really interesting decision overall. While flying during certain action sequences, that ultra wide cam, wide angle lens, almost fisheye level.
So before we go any further, I think there's one other visual element that we're definitely going to have to talk about.
Okay. What's that?
So everybody always talks about the different suits. And there was a big...
Why'd you say it like that?
I don't know. But one of the controversies about the suit was the trunks versus like the underwear.
Oh, yeah.
Side, of the suit. And so I don't know if you guys were team trunks or team underwear when it comes to like the Superman suit. What are your guys' thoughts?
I like the trunks.
You like the trunks?
Yeah, I like the trunks. I feel like it's a little too much focus on that zone when there's like underwear.
Okay. Cody, are you team trunks or team underwear?
I think in the context of this film, which is very playful and wacky, I think the trunks belong versus like if you had Henry Cavill wearing those babies, like it just would not.
It would look silly.
It would not work in the context of those films whatsoever.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't know if I'm team trunks normally, but in the context of this movie,
it worked.
It works. It worked well. Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've talked through some of the visuals, Mark, do you want to chat us through what we're hearing?
So the score was done by John Murphy and David Fleming. They deploy the Superman, that like 3-note musical motif that was created by John Williams in his iconic score from the 1978 Superman film, Cody.
Yep.
I'm sure that was like probably a highlight of watching that movie, like you mentioned.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, if you kind of think about the Superman theme, a lot of people pointed out that it's like that 3-note motif. So it's almost like the syllables if you were pronouncing the word Superman.
And go ahead and do that for us.
So the main theme of the film features the melody played on an electric guitar before being joined by an orchestra. And it kind of feels like this modern take, but also respecting its roots at the same time by including that orchestra. And in this particular scene, we actually hear that 3-note motif on piano when Clark starts talking about his parents and background. So it kind of evokes that imagery of Superman.
That's cool.
It draws upon our previous knowledge of the other films, and it all kind of ties together in this really fun wink to the audience in some ways. The other thing that I would say is that James Gunn is really well known for being associated with prominent needle drops. Guardians of the Galaxy, they had like the mixtapes for each film that came out. And to my surprise, there aren't too many needle drops in this film. It is really score dependent.
Yeah, I was surprised when the credits rolled, because we stuck around for like the post-credits sequences. There are like 4 songs that are credited.
Right.
And one of them is a fake song from the Mighty Crabjoys.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
Which is a
so
great
much.
name.
Yes. One thing I really enjoyed too was the use of 5 Years Time by Noah and the Whale.
Yeah.
During Mr. Terrific's fight scene. I love that song. I haven't heard it in a while. And so it was a great choice.
You can tell he was just like, I want to make a cool ass fight scene to this song. And like, he put it in this movie.
Yep. Basically worked backward from there. And very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some really strong audio elements here. And, yet another element that, despite feelings on the script itself and the risky decisions that Gunn took on his Superman reboot, which by all accounts really, really needed to work on a number of levels for the continued success of, the new DC universe.
He does anything but play it safe with that.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point. And James Gunn has this tendency for turning flawed, gritty characters into unlikely heroes with heart. But with Superman, he does something different. He reminds us that in a cynical world, compassion and kindness can be the most subversive traits of all. And I think that's also distilled in, I think there's a line where he says, caring about people is punk rock or something like that.
Oh yeah, he does.
Which was a great line. But I think taking a step back, this Superman and Superman in general hasn't really changed much, but America has. And that's why, having somebody who is compassionate and kind in that cynical world is a really nice contrast and a reminder of that. And I think this scene does a wonderful job highlighting the idealism yet brashness of Superman, while also painting a portrait of a character that means good in this complicated world.
Well said.
Yeah. Really fascinating scene where they're verbally sparring, not physically. And so I think it was a good choice today to kind of use the underlying themes of the movie to jump off to other components of the film as well. So thanks, guys, for your thoughts. It has been really fun to talk about Superman, and thank you to our listeners and fellow movie enthusiasts for reliving this scene with us. Do you have a favorite scene from Superman? You can email us at contact@scenecraftpodcast.com with any of your thoughts or comments, or follow us on most social media platforms at Scenecraft Podcast for any scheduling updates and news. You can support the podcast by leaving us a review or star rating on your platform of choice. A very special thanks to Jordan Summerlad for our theme music. This has been Scenecraft, where we break down the craft behind our favorite scenes. See you all next time.